I don't know, I don't have a solution right at this minute. It's something that we've certainly got to address. And like, we tax people in the state of Texas, the franchise tax, ad valorem tax. We teach people not to invest in their companies. I have an issue with that, because whatever you have on yourself come end of the year, you're gonna pay tax on. We've got to do some stuff to get our people to invest in their companies. I don't have a straight solution right now with adequate numbers to give you a solution. I would not vote for raising taxes. I would not ever vote for state income tax. But I would certainly look at some things to eliminate some taxes that we have. But to eliminate them, we would have to move some things around to recoup that money.
Okay.
On your card here, I noticed it was telling that I guess you were raised in the Killeen area, and it says your dad was superintendent of Killeen in the school district. The turning point in Duane's life was when he attended high school at South Texas Christian Home Ministry Ranch, Marshall Ranch, where his life was changed and a future leader was born. Explain that.
Well, it's kind of, it was a misprint, I'm going to tell you. I went to high school in Goliad, Texas. I got the opportunity to work on a ranch in South Texas, down there called South Texas Ministries down there. And I rodeoed a bunch. Killeen didn't have a good rodeo team, and I was a pretty rambunctious boy. And I got to go to work on a ranch. My dad made arrangements for me to go down there and work on that ranch, and I worked down there from my freshman year through my senior year. And went to high school in town there, and really enjoyed it, and learned the value of hard work. You know, we would dig post holes in Caliche when there was a perfectly good tractor sitting over there. But so that's it was a great time in my life. I'm a big supporter of South Texas Ministries and South Texas Children's Homes down there. It's a great organization.
So as a legislator, will you choose to do it the hard way instead of the easy way? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I've learned the value of hard work, and I think that's part of what we're missing today. I think a lot of people are missing the values of hard work and getting it done. And I think that's a part of why we have the entitlement programs we have.
Explain a little bit about some of the businesses that you talked about your transporting business here. Can you give us just an overview of some of your other businesses?
I own a construction company, and I also told you I have a labor company. If you drive down 242 right back here, most of those apartment complexes coming down 242, my construction company had something to do with them. We have a labor company that would go in and keep big construction sites clean, whether it's apartment complexes or high rises or massive buildings, and would keep the construction sites clean. My punch company would come in when the buildings were done on big construction sites and do the fine details in it, and that's what we did. It's hard to get big trades back, you know, they come in there and they do big bulky things, and my punch company could do just about anything. So if you had brick off on a wall, if you had a roof that was missing shingles, in new construction, we could do any of that. In tile setting, granite countertops, any of that stuff, my punch company could do. And so that's what we did. We've done them from Dallas, all of Houston. 242 was the bulk right here that we did. And we built custom homes for people and done custom remodels for people. You know, people that ask. We don't really advertise for new homes, but if we're asked, we'll certainly do it.
Was that just kind of a follow-on to the labor? You said a labor company. Is that like day labor or employees, or how does that work?
No, I have a group of foremen that I have on each construction site that run, and no, they're not day laborers. The problem with day labor is they come in, they're there one day and they're gone. It's basically if you took labor ready and refined it. Because labor ready, you have different guys every day. These are normally the same guys. My same employees every day.
They're actual employees,
Yeah, my employees, yeah.
W-2 employees.
Mm. And then, you know, obviously, we have subs that work with us on down.
Okay, tell me about your staffing business. It says on here that you currently have a transportation company, a staffing company, and a home building
Are we
business.
changing this to your question and into that one?
Yeah.
He's
I
already
was
over
just
down
doing-
there,
I was
okay.
doing a follow-on
Okay.
to his, which, yeah.
Okay, because we're already over. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, we're over?
Yeah, but he's, yeah,
Oh, really?
that's with the bills.
Huh?
Yeah,
We're
that's with
over
the
on
bell
bills.
went off.
right?
Yeah, we're over on his question.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's
Okay,
start.
I'm sorry, yeah. It
So
should have
you've
started on
You've already
mine.
used your time.
Well, I used, I
Good.
only
All right,
used a
Ken, your
minute. I
turn.
have the, my
Next.
internal
Next.
clock
But you're
said
ahead
I
now,
only used a
but now
minute.
you're ahead because you've asked after question. So
Give one
you
minute.
have to finish the rest of it.
So, anyway,
Questions,
so,
please.
yeah, that was my question. Tell me a little bit more about your staffing company.
Well, it basically falls under the superior labor side of things. We would staff if somebody needed a superintendent on a job or something like that, but didn't want to hire a full-time employee, or, you know, we would staff. But it mainly, the staffing side of things is back to the labor side of things, the labor company that we had.
So you provide, and these are W-2 employees that you provide, so they're kind of more or less consultants on a site, and site specific,
Sure.
but their employees are W-2?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, some of the superintendent is, but not necessarily everybody that's
Right, and
coming with it.
No, when you get into the big bulk of things, when you get into the big bulk of things, we would sub a bunch of that out through an umbrella. Because sometimes we may have 150 men on a job, so
Are
they
those
may.
people legal? Do you have a way to check to see if they're legal?
Well, all of my guys that physically work for me are all legal.
But when you have to get 150 workers or so,
Well, they're subs, and so, you
it's
know,
supposed to be legal, right?
supposed to be. I mean, I don't interview them, I don't hire
You're
them.
just taking the contractor's word for it?
Well, my superintendents oversee what's going on in the field, and so.
are they checking to make sure that they're legal?
When we hire companies, the companies we hire, everybody has to be legal. Especially, you know, if we're doing something federal, you know, everybody's checked as they come through the gate. Now, if we're over here doing an apartment complex and I need you to come do a job for me, or I'm gonna sub a job to you, then all your paperwork and all your insurance has to be in order. Now, I don't know who all you staff. That's just the nature of the business.
And likely, a lot of them are illegal. That's the way the businesses are run.
I would imagine in the construction business, we have a lot of
I've used a few.
illegal immigrants, so.
Okay, so let me grab one more question out of that before I pass along, because I was building up to that. So you got 3 businesses that you're running. How much time does that take out of, say, a week, a 40-hour week?
Now it doesn't, now it doesn't hardly take any but about 10 hours a week, and that's on my transportation side. We have reined, my wife and I have reined everything in. We've actually sold a couple of businesses to run for this race. And
Oh, so what did you sell? Out of these 3, you sold some?
No, we curtailed our construction business completely back. We're not doing any construction right now of home remodels or anything. We still own the businesses. My foremans still work for me. I say they work for me, I just sub it all out to them, and I don't mess with it. The only thing Gina and I are doing today is we're in the transportation business, and we move oil field equipment right now.
Okay.
And we've actually leased those trucks to another big oil field
How many
company.
trucks?
We've got 2 right now with the expectation of having 10 by the end of the year. So we're fixing it.
End of the year was 2 weeks.
I understand.
Ken?
Okay. What about schools is always a critical issue. What do you think of school choice and specifically allowing parents to choose the school their kids go to, whether public, private, parochial, or whatever, and having the state funding follow the children based on their parents' decision?
Okay. It's a good question. If you're talking about school of choice within the public school system, within your school district, I'm okay with that as long as there's room. Certainly, there's gonna be some issues of whether there's room at that school, with everybody trying to run for this one particular school. If you're gonna ask about private schools, I don't have any problem with somebody going to private school at all. I support it.
Are you saying with that tax dollar or without? Okay, go ahead.
Without the tax dollar. I'll go ahead and answer it. And I'm gonna tell you why. The problem we have when we take federal and state dollars, and if we were to give somebody a voucher to go to school, the problem I would have with it is not that our dollars were necessarily going, but we would have intrusion from the federal government once again, state and local. The state and federal dollars are gonna follow the money. They're gonna follow the child. And so the fact that you're wanting to send your kid, let's just say you're wanting to send your kid to a Christian private school that prays in the morning, prays at lunch, prays when you leave school, talks about God in their curriculum, all great things that we should go back to and having more of. All it's gonna take is one guy to get in there and a lawsuit's gonna fire up because we have separation of church and state. And I'm afraid that the very thing that they're wanting to get away from is gonna follow them in there.
Of course, charter schools already do that. The one in Vista Academy here in the Woodlands is a Christian charter school, and actually is housed at a church. I can't remember the name, it's on research for us. And then, of course, in Texas, there's quite a few that are Muslim that have been in the news, where they're supposed to be open, but they close the fence, that sort of thing. My point being, there's already state money going to charter schools that are, in fact, religiously based, but there hasn't been any lawsuits against that. And it's state money, but it's only state money, it's not local property tax money. So you might want to look into that, basically. But I have a different question.
Well, the problem is, the problem is it just really hasn't come to light yet. But it goes
Yeah.
back to it goes back to, again, what we talked about in the beginning with the TSA. That we're the ones that are scrutinized and screened. And what you just said, they're probably not gonna mess with it because of the dirty ramifications of it. It scares me what you just told me.
Mm. Well, it's true.
Because we don't know.
Most are religiously based. There are exceptions, but most of the charter schools, the reason they exist is because a religious group decided they wanted a better alternative to public school, other than an expensive private school. See,
But
it's
you're
state
telling me that
funded.
state dollars are following these charter schools?
Oh yeah, that's all state money,
Well,
every dollar,
uh,
and some
This is-
federal.
This is the first time
food.
I'm aware of it,
Okay.
that a Christian charter school is accepting federal dollars and state dollars. And if it's working, then that's great. I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with it. I'm just telling you, it could just explode and become a huge problem. I wish everybody learned about God a little more.
Mhm. Okay. Can I ask my question? All right.
Don't you just?
Ken's-
Oh, I thought it was your
it's Ken-
question.
It's Ken's next.
No, that was my
You just
question.
asked.
Okay,
No,
sorry.
we're going that way. Your way.
See.
Do you have one?
All right. I was busy with it.
Yeah.
James is driving. Am I driving?
Well, I had one, but now.
Well, on education, now I'm not talking about, we've already talked about school choice. Earlier, when we were talking about replacing the property tax, one thing I didn't hear, you did say, well, we should move money around. One thing I didn't hear was, well, we could cut money. So what I want to talk about where it's a huge area for cut is education. Although, of course, if you even speak of it, you're going to get a huge backlash from different so-called teachers' organizations. But over the years, it wasn't long ago, you had a 1-to-5 ratio between teachers and superintendent administrative staff. Today, it's 1-to-1. That huge increase in funding did not go to buy more teachers or to pay teachers. It went to hire multiple vice principals, multiple principals. I think the Woodlands High School has 2 principals, for example. All this money for administrative staff. So my question is, would you consider basically, since we didn't get what we paid for, it isn't like our education has skyrocketed, even though our investment has skyrocketed, would you consider a reduction in the education fund, specifically targeting not the hiring of teachers, even allow some of that money to shift, but basically telling your local school districts, money from the state, it has to go for teachers. We're not going to, allow you to blow it on administrative staff.
Well, let me just use Conroe as an example.
Sure.
Conroe has been lowering their school taxes. But also Conroe is in what they call Chapter 41. Conroe, Montgomery, even Richards, Texas. So your tax dollars that you pay here, and let's just say Conroe ISD,
Mm-hmm.
a portion of that doesn't even stay here.
Yeah,
It goes back to the state,
right.
and the state disperses it out.
It's called the Robin Hood.
It is called the Robin Hood, and that's exactly what I was telling you earlier.
Robin Hood.
What was found unconstitutional in the state of
Yeah.
Texas. And so funding is fixing to change. There is a need in schools for sometimes for two principals.
Sometime, but 1 to 5 to 1 to 1, how can that be justified?
Well, it's something we certainly need to take a look at. And hey, I am all about lowering, not giving as much money to the schools if it fundamentally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a plan that's going to change some things in our vocational programs, and I think we may have to load it up front. But I think in the long run, for our kids in Texas, that it's going to cut down on our entitlement programs.
Load it up front. It sounds like it costs more money. But why would, if you're gonna reduce it, why are you?
Well, my point is, if we can fundamentally change some things of how we're teaching our kids today, not every kid's going to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
So we need to move some things into vocational programs where our boys and girls are learning stuff that makes them employable when they get out of school.
So that
And
would
if
be
they
instead
go to
of
college,
high school or instead of like community college?
no,
or
I'm
the
talking about
vocational?
the vocational stuff would happen at the high school.
High school, okay.
Unless they're far enough along and we can talk the colleges into it.
Mm-hmm.
Something wrong when our kids go off to college today and still have to take high school
Remedial courses, that's right.
remedial courses.
And most of them do.
And we pay that burden over there as well.
Mhm.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, what's your understanding of C-scope? And what do you think still needs to be done?
I think C-scope is highly skewed, and I don't care for C-scope. I think when we have somebody else writing our history, there's no oversight really, and I have a big problem with that. When there's no vetting of C-scope, they can go in at any time. It can pass through, and they can say, okay, we looked at it, and C-scope can change it in the middle because it's a computer program, and I don't care for it. I understand why they did it, but I don't care for it. And I think we need to go back more to the old way of how we did things, of really vetting our textbooks that our kids get and go back to our especially with our history. C-scope's history and science really have some issues with.
So do you think it's finished? Think it's dead and nothing else needs to be done, or do you think they still have work to do to,
Well, I mean, like, who, C-scope?
To eliminate it.
legislator and?
Yeah.
Well, it's our school district didn't take it, didn't follow C-scope.
Montgomery,
Or
Correct.
CISD,
CISD would.
Montgomery ISD didn't take
Montgomery.
it.
But you know, I heard that they get, we're.
Well, they bought it, they just never implemented
But they
it.
never
Actually
implemented.
started implementing it.
Sure, and there was a big stink, and
Yeah.
and some things changed on that.
Okay,
I think there's a huge, when I'm elected, we won't have, well, I will do everything I can do to eliminate C-scope.
do you think anybody ought to be prosecuted?
I think if somebody, I think if the state of Texas approves certain literature that's in the C-scope's plan and they change it in the middle, absolutely.
Because you realize there was perjury in it.
Yes. That's what I'm understanding. My son's still in Montgomery ISD because they don't have it.
Well, you know, it took about 7 years for people to realize that C-scope was there. And there are a lot of other things like that that are just under the surface. People would think it couldn't possibly happen, but it does. And one of those things is an issue called American law for American courts. And the fact is that in the United States, there have been a number of court cases where judges gave rulings based on international law or Sharia law. And a lot of states have passed American law for American court bill. And it's been tried in Texas, but it's never really made it anywhere. You'd think there'd be no reason not to have that, and you'd think you wouldn't even consider international law in the Texas court, but it happens. And the legislators have not done anything with it yet. So what's your feeling on that? And how much would you get on board? And
Can you hold on a second before we get that?
we're not ready? I got a free question.
No, I don't really understand. I don't really understand where you're going.
Well, in an American court, this may be an extreme example, but you know, under Sharia law, Islamic law, you can kill your daughter if she dates a white boy, you know. And there have been court cases where Texas judges said, okay, that may be a violation under Texas law, but under Sharia law it's okay, so we're not gonna punish the guy who did that. And that's I don't know about beheading or killing your daughter, but there have been a lot of issues that have been resolved on international law. In fact, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, if I was using the Constitution, I wouldn't use American law. There are other laws that are better. And a lot of cases have been resolved on international law.
Okay, I understand where you're going now. Well, first of all, I have heard of a case that you're talking about where a guy used Sharia law as his plea. It's absolutely crazy that any judge would even allow that in an American courtroom. This is America. And if you're in America, then you're going to follow American law. Just like if I'm in another foreign country, I'm going to follow the foreign law. I know that people have used diplomatic immunity. I don't know if this case you were specifically talking about, the guy was a diplomat or something.
Right.
But I cannot imagine that in America, a person could use Sharia law and walk out of a courtroom after committing murder. And I think a judge that rules that way first ought to be removed from the bench automatically, if not incarcerated himself.
And how about the legislators that won't allow a law like that to pass through the Texas House? It's been introduced many times.
It's been introduced what?
To
The rule
require
that says
American law only. The
American
judges
law
have
only.
no ability, to remove the judges any ability to consider anything but U.S. and Texas state law.
And Texas has
I
not.
don't have a
Currently, the
problem with
judge
that.
isn't limited to that.
Yeah.
Texas legislators have not been willing to pass a law that requires that. Some other states have, but Texas has not.
Well, I would be in favor when elected of y'all bringing that to my attention.
Okay.
And I would support that bill, and I would imagine I can find plenty of other people to support that bill.
You would think so. Oh, we can edit that one little time.
No,
Right.
just say
We've got about 4
non-Muslim.
minutes left to complete our 45 minutes of questions.
So in